founded the business, but it's not really my business anymore. I don't mind sharing this. I kind of got the business to about where I could with my modest skills. A big tipping point was meeting Max, who has an abundance of skills that I don't possess. Well, they put the two things together and we're off to the races. And so these things are important because to people, it gives you one thing that I was never able to say until Max arrived, and that's we think rather than I think. And that's a massive shift. And then others arriving that had additional complementary skills to round out what we can present to clients. I genuinely feel like it's our business. The next 5 years is about what I can bring, but it's just as much what everybody else can bring.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Ways to Wealth. Today I'm joined by Kelly. Kelly, why don't you give us the TLDR on who you are and what you're working on and what you do on a day-to-day basis?
Pleasure. Great to be here. Thanks for the invite. I'm Kelly Bennett and I'm the founder and managing director of 1+1. 1+1 Communications is the 2025 New Zealand Agency of the Year, as voted by PRINZ, our industry body, something I'm immensely proud of. We're in the business of telling business stories, fundamentally. We exist to serve our clients and manage their reputations, their profiles, and indeed their brand equity, something we've been doing for 12 years, really successfully, and pleased to be here.
Yeah, awesome. It kind of is jumping forward, but I often do because I get curious. Would you consider yourselves a boutique agency?
Well, no.
Because you talk very much about brand reputation, brand equity. That's obviously really important to you. So you probably can't do 1,000 brands in a year. So I guess to jump ahead just because I'm curious in this moment, how many brands can a good agency curate?
I think you're asking about scale and capability to deliver service. If we just step back a bit, the 90-second synopsis on the growth of our business and the ability that we now have to service some of New Zealand's biggest brands and companies.
Yeah.
In a former life, I founded another agency called 11 PR.
Okay.
And that was based at 11 Merrill Drive, just up the road. But the big difference is it was owned by a multinational and still is. And so I arrived at TBWA, the advertising agency that houses 11. And they had a PR offer of sorts.
Right.
I had been living in Europe for 8 years. I came back. And I had a wife and 2 kids and a mortgage to pay, and I had to take that job really seriously because I felt like this is it for me. I've got some responsibilities, and it's really time for me to try and fulfill the sense of self-belief and confidence I have in myself to make good on the opportunity that I was presented with. I'm happy to report I did that, and 11 at the time had about 11 staff, was 11 Merrill Drive. And it was a strong number, and it was all about high ideals. Ironically, there is a massive mega holding company merger going on right now that may well result in 11 becoming the master brand for all of the IPG and Omnicom companies post-merger that is underway right now. So really fascinating. This little thing I founded, nearly 20 years ago, could become the biggest brand in our lane in this part of the world. But I digress. So there were 2 of us that started 1+1.
Yeah.
There are now 15 consultants in the business and a pool of several contractors. So that pegs us at about 20 staff. And that means that in this country, we are resourced sufficiently to currently look after pretty much whoever we choose to partner with or who chooses to partner with us. So that scale is something that we have worked at quite intensively and intentionally over the years. We've never gone backwards in terms of the growth of our business, save for one slight correction during COVID. So I end this year, genuinely, this has been the best year professionally for me in my life. And so with that comes a degree of sure-footedness and quiet confidence about how we can service the clients that we have and the ones that we're onboarding. And, honestly, I hope, I know that bleeds through into the confidence that our team have and the way that they show up. So it's been a great year.
11, was that an entrepreneurship kind of
vibe
then? I founded it in the
company? It's a fundamental difference between business ownership and creating something that you see value in but is owned ultimately by others.
Were you able to get any equity in 11?
Well, it's a good question. I was called managing partner at
Right.
the time. I had no equity, but the choice of that title was deliberate because I thought at the time it would show that I was connected to the business and that I had some sort of equity stake in it. But the honest answer is I didn't. And very few people who are working for holding company owned businesses in this country have that luxury. There's really only a handful. So that's the big difference between holding company businesses and individually owned local businesses. In the environment that we're working in right now, I know which one I would prefer to partner with. Independence, such as it is, and the sort of autonomy that we have is baked into how we show up as a business. We don't have to wait 3 weeks to get approval to order some staplers, which is often the case, when you're working inside holding companies. You can go faster. You're not beholden to anyone to show why you should be hiring someone. It's a much easier way to operate. It comes with some risk, of course, because if it goes belly up, then it's on you.
The ultimate accountability.
The ultimate level of accountability. But I think it enables people to have more legitimate conversations with client partners when you own the business.
Yeah.
You're deeply connected to the thing, as I'm sure you are. You want it to work, you want it to succeed, so you do whatever is required in order to make that happen. I know people do that intuitively when they are working for someone else, but having owned my own company with shareholders now for 12 years, I know which way I'd rather run.
Because you didn't have shares, but what wealth did you gain from that experience? Because I bet you learnt a lot.
Yeah, I was very lucky. I had 7 years of running a business with training wheels.
Yeah, because the exposure was, well, I guess in a sense, other than reputation, almost, zero.
Yeah, that's a fair call. Well, obviously I had my own integrity on the line. I wanted it to work. I had people that had believed in me. My then boss, a guy called David Walden, who's a throwback to the Mad Men advertising era, really charismatic guy, a life of the party, bon vivant, ambitious, bit of a tyrant, a benevolent dictator, as he used to call himself. So I learned lots of things from my time with him, stuff that I really knew I wanted to do when I ran my own business and stuff I was absolutely adamant I would never even touch. But it is different, you're right. You when you own the thing yourself, you have no choice, I think, but to keep going, to show up every day, to be the best version of yourself. And you don't always have that obligation when you're working for someone else. You might
want to
drive it or want to fulfill it yourself, but there's no actual obligation as such, I believe.
Yeah, it is a difference. Now, I guess like when you were working through your time in Europe and then you came here and you were working at you were founding 11 and then managing it essentially. Like all this time, were you like, I am gonna one day own a thing?
No. Maybe after 3 or 4 years. And in my case, it took me a couple of years to get the confidence required to leave. And I had laboured over this for a while. And there's some people in my social orbit who were very encouraging, some more than others actually. Kelly, you could do this. You should do this. Now's the time to do this. And I guess enough of those encouraging voices in my head meant that, as I say, after 7 years, I said that I would leave. Ironically, I had one client lined up, and it was a big client, and I was going to take that client with me.
Right.
And 1+1 is a corporate communications business, and 11 is a consumer business. So very different types of PR.
Okay.
Fundamentally, very different types of PR. And so enough people said, no, you should do this. And I was pretty old by that stage in an industry that really values youth and originality and is kind of ageist. Advertising doesn't celebrate grey hair too much. PR, on the other hand, does. And there's a slight distinction. So I was going to take one client, and my employer said, yeah, no problem. And it's a complicated story, but I'll tell it obliquely. One day I got an email from a dear friend of mine who was working at Simpson Gress, and he's gone on to become a judge. I thought it was from him, But it actually wasn't. It was from my employers saying, actually, we don't think you should take that client.
Right.
And it threw me into a real state of disarray. And nobody got that client because the client found out that my employer was saying, actually, you shouldn't take it.
Right.
And they thought, we can't touch this. You guys figure it out. And next minute, someone else was doing the work. So my pipeline of work disappeared.
Yeah.
And I had to start from scratch. And genuinely, we had no clients, 2 people, a little bit of self-belief, and a lot of hustle. And that's what you need when you're starting something and you're trying to create something for yourself. No one's going to give it to you. You have to go and get it. And so that's what I took from the experience. And
so once you lost that pipeline, what did you do?
Well, I think I probably had a stiff drink back in the day. I don't drink now. I haven't drunk for 5 years. I stopped drinking when I was 50. But I think I was panicked and I felt a bit emotionally wobbly. I can't remember. It's 12 years ago. We won our first client, and it was an architectural business, Opus Architecture. And then we started working for Opus.
So you won. How long did that take to win them?
Not long. Like, we were in and we were off. And so profitable in our first year, like genuinely. Like I had 7 years of practice. So I was not, it's not like I left and I started an ice cream shop. I knew what to do and I knew how to do it. But it takes time. And this is the other thing. Some of the people in my life who I really respect and look up to now, peers, they've built wealth and built businesses and built lives for themselves that are intentional, but they've been patient with it. So whether that's investments or the business or a property they've acquired, they don't flick it. They are patient and they know that it takes time to build something. And whilst, 2013, 1+1 was launched. And so the growth was incremental. But every year we got better. And the graph for the first 10 years just looks like that. It's going straight up. It hasn't been super quick, but it's been steady.
Yeah, right.
And so now, we are very fortunate in that growth and that hustle and the industriousness required to create something over time. I feel it. My shareholders in the business feel it. That others in our team now have that too. You know what I mean? Like
the high agency kind of.
I think just an industriousness and a willingness to make things happen incrementally and consistently is a big thing that has helped our business.
Right, it's permeated the culture.
It's part of just the way in which we show up.
Yeah, interesting. And then, what's the kind of end goal when you're working in PR, and you're trying to serve clients and trying to build the best performing agency you can, it's almost, it's an art, it's yes and no, but
it's we're not curing cancer.
No.
That's a line again from my old boss, Evo, who was fond of saying, do good work, have fun, make money. Now that's kind of an old school outlook, but I don't mind it actually.
Yeah,
we're a business.
it's simple.
We're for profit. I'm really pleased and proud that the success that we have enjoyed means that our team have been the direct beneficiaries of that. So we would try to pay above market. Everybody in our business in a year that lots of firms in our industry have struggled, and indeed the wider economy has been pretty stagnant. Everybody's getting a pay increase, and a significant one at that. Now, holding companies can't do that, but in a year when we have performed with distinction, I'm delighted to be able to do that. So we share the wealth creation. We want to make sure that people are getting paid really well relative to their role and seniority, and that they think they've got a pathway for their own development inside the business, which makes me enormously proud. So these things are important to pay attention to, particularly as we grow and scale.
And do you see it something that you're just going to work in forever? And then are there even members in your team where you're like, oh, those guys will carry the mantle on, or like
Big change for me personally and professionally happened when I met Max Bird, a guy in our team, our business, who's the general manager and a shareholder now. And he came from a different agency, admittedly one that was owned as I was, like a holding company, a big ad agency, DDB actually.
Right, yeah.
Which you may have been following, was about to be obliterated as part of that industry shake-up. So Max's arrival was a significant tipping point in our growth and development because he is exceptional. He is one of the best practitioners I've met in 25 years of doing this. So how lucky am I that we now work together? Plus he's supremely likable and charming and all of those things. So he's in the business. And we have another shareholder now, a lady called Liz Holt, again, exceptional. So the three of us for now are the leadership team that is focusing on the next 5 years.
Yes,
I think that's a fair window. Right?
I love 5 years.
Yeah, I'm 55. By that stage, I'll be 60.
Right.
And I don't know what I'll do then. And I don't know what the plan is. We don't, it's not an exit strategy, but it's 5 years. We're committed to this, or at least I am. And to go as fast and as hard and as intentional as we can during that time to continue growing. So I feel really lucky, genuinely. I feel so lucky that our business is growing. It's at a high watermark. The reverse would be really hard to contemplate. You're a business owner and it's contracting and you're having to let people go. That sounds like a really shitty scenario that I'm going to do everything in my power to stave off. It's like I think it was Sam Walton, Walmart guy, famously said, recession. I thought about it. I chose not to participate.
That's cool.
So we are.
That's an interesting mindset thing, right? And I think the market feels it when you're in that kind of vibe, right?
I do, and do you know what? I'm very. I want to ensure that whoever it is that watches this. Sees in me and what I'm saying like a humbleness. So I'm very respectful that in the environment that we're operating in, it's tough for a lot of businesses, and no amount of intentionality or manifesting a belief set that says recession, I'm not participating. Sometimes that's not enough.
Yeah.
But clients respond. I know this to be true. Have responded to our own levels of ambition and our own desire to keep getting better because it's fun, and who wouldn't want to get better at what they do over time? Clients seem to respond really favourably to that. They are enthused by the idea of a firm that partners with them, deliberately wanting to get better and be a better version of themselves every quarter. Ironically, this is one of the things that we committed pen to paper with, or I did, with the first ever 1+1 employee, and we wrote a set of principles, which of course every firm has. But the lovely thing is that the vision we had for the business and where we've landed is pretty much on point.
Right.
And those principles that it's a manifesto we have, and which guides the way in which we work. I think number 2 or 3 is like to try and get better on a regular basis, like quarterly improvements in how we show up as people and as professionals. And I think by and large, my colleagues do that as well. They really do. They're intentional about getting better, and I think that has served us exceptionally well.
Yeah. What do you think has changed about PR in the last 5 years?
Everything.
If anything. Yeah,
everything,
great.
everything and nothing.
Everything and nothing.
It has been an incredibly disruptive period when you think about the media landscape has changed dramatically, more so in the last 5 years than in any period of my entire career, with, let's just think about it, Bauer, the German publishing company imploding, and all of the magazines that used to be available to read or tell stories in pretty much disappearing. Some of them were picked up. All of the challenges that MediaWorks has experienced, News Hub, TV3, the version of TV3 that we see on our screens now relative to the version 5 years ago, that's a major change. All of the journalists that have lost their livelihoods and have had to reinvent themselves, massive change. The democratization of the advertising industry and all of the challenges that most of the leading firms in that lane are now struggling with. Artificial intelligence, completely disrupting production of storytelling and even search. Like a firm that over-indexes in what we call earned media, press coverage, articles, radio stuff, TV, with AI and LLM models, firms that over-index really well are gonna fly. Firms that don't are going to struggle. So the way in which you search for services has changed, and our contribution to that is significant. I could go on. So everything has changed, and yet the fundamentals remain. You need good people that you can trust, who are going to go the extra mile for you, who get the exchange, the commercial exchange between client and agency, and commit to doing stuff. You see the thing, you do the thing, you get paid for the thing. That's it's not cancer. We're not curing cancer.
Yeah,
it's pretty simple if you can do it well, and that's the rub. I also think with a local nuance and lens that is reflective of an appreciation and understanding of what's required in Aotearoa, New Zealand, not holding companies dictating what you do or how to do it, or at least the approach. I think local nuance with people you trust and like is more important than ever.
And what about the role of I guess brands building and individuals within brands building, and this tension now between, I guess, rented eyeballs and earned eyeballs, right? So the kind of, like you say, the over-indexation of podcasts, long-form content, articles, write-ups about your brand or the individuals within the brand versus I'm going to pay Facebook today X amount of dollars for those eyeballs.
I
No, you put that.
Not a fan of Meta, sorry.
Cool. No, that's great.
Philosophically, why would you want to do that?
And that's because you're renting them, and you're not. Or is that just the whole business? You just don't like how it works.
There's a guy called Roger McNamee who wrote a book critiquing Facebook, and then the most recent Facebook critique is, I can't remember her name, the New Zealand woman, we've got the book back at the office, who was corporate affairs director inside Facebook/Meta, and revealed behaviours inside the company that are just reprehensible. So that's my position on the approach to just dump budget into Meta. As a business, our worldview and our philosophy increasingly is about surface area for brands and for businesses, and we are fortunate that we can take some learnings from our own experience growing our own business in the way that we have, in the lane that we have as a public relations firm, and we know what has worked well for us, and so we can filter that through to the advice that we give to the clients we partner with. And surface area is just about, it's not a new concept, but I think our articulation of it and our lens on it is interesting. When we've onboarded people who've done podcasts or written op-eds or spoken at conferences or said yes to an invitation just like this, those are good because those are moments in time of being curious and present and wanting to have a conversation and articulating a worldview and saying what you believe in, expressing a philosophical or professional point of view on stuff. The firms that do that with energy and rigor and discipline consistently are the firms that you're going to notice. You're going to say, I saw the thing from Acuity, that was fascinating, and then I jumped on the website. And so that has been our own experience. LinkedIn for us sounds trite, but we were very deliberate. 12 months ago, we clocked our competitive set. We put in the 10, 9 firms that we compete with, and we have logged religiously our progress over 12 months, just in one channel, right? Why wouldn't you want to do well in LinkedIn? Fish where the fish are. And we consistently perform, I know this with confidence because I just checked the other day, it's the end of the year. We run a calendar year, so we're just about to finish, and we know where we've landed financially, we know where we've landed as a team, and we know where we've landed on LinkedIn, and that is consistently, over 12 months, the firm that has had the most engagement of our competitive set. Like there's daylight. It sounds arrogant, but the numbers are there. It's true. So we know that this is something that has helped us. The perception of a firm like ours that's doing interesting things, because we share all the stuff that we've done intentionally and hopefully in a way that doesn't look too ostentatious or self-promotional. We try to show it in a way that...
And is that showing like your collaborations with your clients?
Yeah,
or
I mean,
is it general value add in the PR space and content around that?
It's things that we are doing that we think are interesting, or copy we've produced, or work that we've done, or people that have come into our business and we've had a chat with. There is nothing unique in that, but the curatorial aspect of it and how you select and then show stuff to people, I think, is important. Like when you want to have the chat is important, if you want to get something done or you want to achieve a certain outcome. So yeah, LinkedIn has been incredibly successful for us, and it's something I'm really proud of, because it's not one person in our business that's done that. We all...
And is that a kind of group effort across your individuals? How are you measuring it across individuals and
No,
company,
just as
or
a business and comparing ourselves against our competitive
And a lot of the
set.
posts are from the business and not and from individuals. Do you guys do reposting? Like,
yeah, we do reposting.
A lot of reposting. And is that how you kind of... Because I found that I get a lot more impressions on LinkedIn than the company does.
Yes. I think depending on the post, that's not uncommon.
Yeah.
That's not uncommon. And, the algorithms sometimes get in the way. On rare occasions, you might think this will pop off and then, sinks like a stone. But generally, I think if you can read the mood and try to find a happy balance between being too self-promotional and something that has utility and others will find interesting or celebratory, then you're on solid ground.
So you said you've got a very clear plan for 5 years.
Well, that plan, by the way, is just to continue doing what we're doing and be present, and genuinely be present. Be present in conversations like this. Be present with, our colleagues. Just be intentional about trying to do the right thing at the right time in the right moment.
So more signal, less noise kind of vibe.
Yeah, I suppose it's a nice way to take it. Yeah.
Would you say there's been a catalyst over the recent time or over the recent years where that has become clear to you? Because you go back to that quite a lot, and it's like you've mentioned, like you're on a high of being able to say, actually, you know what, like we've done some great work. I'm really proud of the work we've done, and despite all of the rhetoric we do here, our lived experience has been that it's been the best year we've had.
Yes. Perfect. I mean, as a listener, to play back to me, that's a really fair appraisal of what I've said and what I know to be true. I should add that I've had imposter syndrome and low levels of anxiety in my professional life forever. Right? So I try to share with the younger members of our team some of I kind of ghosted through my 20s professionally, doing stuff, thinking I was better than the job, I didn't really connect with the PR industry, I'm embarrassed to say, until much later. And that job I described, the one I've been overseas, I've been in Europe for 8 years, I came back with my then wife and kids, and I got a job at TBWA, and I sort of thought, this is the last saloon, right? I've really got to make a fist of this, because my sense of confidence, self-confidence and self-belief had tripped me up, probably until about that role. And so I know what it's like to be really nervous and incredibly anxious and not to feel that your voice has any impact or meaning, because I lived through that for 15 years. Yeah. And then slowly, more in this job than perhaps in the one I had where I was running the show but didn't own it, I found that. And it's a series of little moments there was, a big tipping point was meeting Max, obviously. I feel like, and I don't mind sharing this, like I kind of got the business to about where I could with my modest skills, seriously. And then meeting people like Max, who has an abundance of skills that I don't possess, well, they put the two things together and we're off to the races. And also, if you think about ad agencies and PR firms, there are often two people that really, the name of the agency is surname.
Yeah.
And so these things are important because two people in a room, it gives you one thing that I was never able to say until Max arrived, and that's, do you know what? We think rather than I think. And that's a massive shift.
It's a shift.
Powerful in just the expression of the word. The plural gives you power that you didn't have. And then others arriving that had additional complementary skills to round out what we can present to clients. So, yes, founded the business, but it's not really my business anymore. I genuinely feel like it's our business. And the next 5 years is about what I can bring, but it's just as much what everybody else can bring.
It is a shift, right?
Sure.
How long have they been shareholders?
Max arrived in, I think, maybe 3 years.
3 years.
And we have really gone like the clappers in that 3 years. So, and Liz has been a share. Well, we're actually just finalising the paperwork, actually.
Oh, for her.
So literally, I mean, we landed on it a couple of months ago, but we're just finalising the paperwork. So she's a new shareholder.
So it's doom, doom, doom. It's kind of like it was you on your own dealing with it. Did you really want, for a while, a business partner, or someone else who's skin in the game, or were you like, oh, it's Max?
I think I wanted, I recognised that about the time I met him, I was running out of steam too, because 7 years, 8 years on your own, carrying a business in its entirety. Of course, everyone else, and I'm very respectful of all of the people that were kind enough to, work with me collaboratively, and there were many of them, and a lot of them are super awesome. But singular ownership of a thing, it can be tiring. And so I kind of knew that I needed someone, but I didn't have any sense of how good Max was until he arrived. So we're very, very lucky in that respect.
Bringing Liz on was natural progression.
It was, yeah.
Natural progression.
It was, because she in turn brings a separate set of skills.
Skill set. And do you feel like that's a rounding out of something that you want to build for a long time?
We're not too fixated on, nor am I, on divesting.
Okay.
If the right person comes along, and they can contribute in a different way, in a meaningful way, and they can round out the little description. This Liz is the third leg on the stool, and also a feminine perspective I think is really useful. She sees things that we don't see. She's an amazing account handler, one of the best in the country for my money, so she can manage multiple enterprise size accounts effortlessly, and that's what you want, right? You want the person that looks like they have an abundance of time, and yet they don't. They're working really diligently and focused, and it looks effortless, but underneath the water, they're going like the clappers. And she's been amazing.
So does she take care of more of the operational side, and you and Matt?
Well, she runs a lot of big accounts. I can tell you that, as does Max.
Would you say is there one of you in the team that wins it? Have you got have you got a I guess is there kind of an approach where certain people in the team are finding the work, closing the work, and managing the work? Is it that kind of vibe, or are you sharing the load?
To a greater or lesser extent, we're sharing the load. But I think at my age and stage, I have what Max doesn't, because he's, considerably younger than I am. I've got a network and lived experience of working with people that means they might come to me to say, hey, I'm in a new role now. It's fascinating, but I think we need some support. Are you open to that?
Right.
And I've been doing it longer, so it doesn't mean I'm, any better or special. I've just got the network, and I've tried not to piss too many people off along the way.
That's always good.
So, which is important in a market like New Zealand. Sure. So I think that's about my own reputation for what that's worth. But then you've got to do the work, right? And so, to be fair, they are probably both better now than I am at a whole raft of things that the work requires of us.
Yeah.
I mean, there's another line. There's a famous footballer called Kenny Dalglish, who was a striker for Liverpool. He's a Scotsman, and he was exceptional. And then became the manager, player manager, and then he but it's a slow progression. You have to know when to get off the pitch, and you have to know when to channel your energies into making the people on the pitch better than they think they can be in order to win the games. And that's more my role now than trying to score the goals.
Yeah, like 10 years ago or 7 years ago when you were starting out.
100%. Oh, I had to do everything.
Yeah.
We had to do everything.
Yeah.
But that's just the growth of any business, thankfully in the right direction.
Yeah. Would you say that you guys are predominantly in the kind of relatively large space for PR in terms of...
we're one of the largest, if not the largest. We've hired someone who's going to start in Wellington as our first hire in that part of the country, doing Wellington-based work. And, I don't know what 2026 will look like, but I would imagine a continuation of the growth and development we've enjoyed. And that means, if we continue at the current trajectory relative to our peer group, we will be the biggest firm in New Zealand. Independent firm. The merger that I alluded to may produce this super business that has 50 people. I don't know. But the
clients you serve, are they larger businesses?
NIB Health Insurance, Milford Asset Management, 2 Degrees, Suncorp. These are all
nice,
large
big companies that have budgets, complex needs and budgets where you can also do quite nice and novel stuff. I guess that's part of the having fun part, right? Is when you do get to work with nice big brands that have some room to be able to go, okay, let's think about how we want to represent our brand, and we have the headspace to actually say we can have a punt on this piece of work with you guys. Whereas I guess if the average startup comes to you, they're not going to have the budget, they don't have the headspace to think clearly. Perhaps obviously if they're well funded, then it's easier to have a conversation about, okay, how are we going to build our brand? But when you've got the likes of 2 Degrees and stuff, they've already got the infrastructure in their organisation. They're large. They already have their own marketing teams.
They have in-house marketing teams,
and
if they're a big firm like 2 Degrees, they'll have an agency village, of which our firm is just one. They'll have many partners that they lean on to help them be better versions of themselves, and so we are one part of that puzzle.
And did you go straight for that part of town because you knew that that's where you could have the most traction given your network and where you'd sat prior? Or did you start off with smaller?
The honest answer is we had to start off with smaller clients.
Okay.
Because I don't think we were, back to your earlier question about resourcing and our own standing in the market. I had a modest profile after having run and led 11, and I think, tried to trade off that in my own network. But it takes time to build anything, You make an investment in a particular asset class, it's just life. You can't, very rarely can you cash in your chips 6 months later and walk away thinking, job done. You've got to keep going, you've got to sit on it, or you've got to realign it, you've got to tweak it. And as we have done that over the years, the clients that we've been able to partner with have become bigger, and the budgets sometimes increase incrementally, although not always. The scope to do interesting work changes, and now I feel like we have a pretty broad palette to paint with to help brands and businesses get better. And often the best work we do is with the clients that we've had for a number of years that we really like, trust, there's mutual respect.
And there's a working relationship.
It's a working relationship.
To know each other.
You can grow with people. You know about their holidays, and you know what pushes their buttons, and it's not transactional. You want to do the right thing for the client, for the person that's paying you, and that gets better over time. It genuinely gets better over time. And so, my message is that work can get better too. Like, I see a lot of dudes I see a lot of people at my age and stage, and if you're not working for yourself, it can be problematic, because if you've pursued a corporate life, unless you're on fire, sometimes you might get caught in the crossfire of a restructure, or, you know, the world can be ageist.
Yeah.
But I'm here to say that, you know, if you're into getting better and you're intentional about getting better, then work becomes better.
That's cool.
That's my message.
That's awesome. I think that's a good way to land.
Awesome. Hey, thank you.
You know,
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
No, thank you. It's been fun.